Andre Holland. You star in Exhibiting Forgiveness as Terrell, a painter whose estranged father suddenly comes back into his life. What about this script particularly excited you when you read it?
Oh man, so many things. I mean, first of all, the writing was really, really fantastic from the very beginning. Like the first draft I read, I thought it was really, really solid. And Titus and I actually got introduced through a mutual friend who is Terrell McCraney, who wrote Moonlight, who's been along, he and I have been friends going way back 20 years probably. And Terrell is the one who reached out and said that he had read the script and had been working with Titus a little bit on it. And then he thought it was great. And so with Terrell's endorsement, I was like, well, let's see what this is. And he was not wrong. So that was a big part of it. Also, the father son story at the heart of it. Those stories always touch me generally, and I think maybe most importantly, the story felt really personal. You know, as soon as I read it, I could tell that it was not just a story that he was telling because he wanted to make a movie, but it was a story that he really needed to tell. And usually, when art is coming from that place, I find it to be most powerful.
And you're he is a painter, and you're playing a sort of fictionalized version of him. Like, what's it like working with a filmmaker, and also being his sort of conduit to in that sort of sense.
Yeah, it's one of the things he said early on was, that while I am playing a version of him, that he wanted to make sure that we put a sort of healthy distance between himself and then the character Terrell, which of course like freed me up, I think, to make some bigger choices and to do some things differently than they, maybe happened in real life. So that was really helpful. And at the same time, though, man, like being on set and being directed by the cat that you're playing, um, there is a different sort of added layer of pressure, not just in terms of getting his characterization right, but also in getting the relationships right. Because the scenes are often between Terrell and his mom, Terrell and his wife, and Titus is the kind of artist who puts all of who he is into his art. And so to me, it was clear that, while Aisha, for instance, is a character that he's created, elements of his own wife were there and elements of his mother were there in Ajanu's character and so on. And so it felt delicate and yeah, worthy of like real care and consideration. So I wanted to make sure I was respectful of those relationships and treated them with the care that they deserve.
And him having this painting background, do you think that influenced how he approached film, which is of course a very different medium? You think was it a lot different working with him than artists, directors from other backgrounds?
Yeah, in some ways it was, man. It was I mean, one thing, look, he knows what a shot is, right? Like he knows how to compose a shot and he knows what he's watching, um, which certainly helps. But also he has a quality that I find most great directors that I've worked with have, which is that he's open and he's genuinely curious. So for instance, early on when he and I started talking about the script, he was very transparent and said, look, man, I've never made a movie before. This is the first script I've written, so I don't really know what I'm doing. He said, but I want you to work on this with me and I want us to be partners in this endeavor. And if there are places where I mess up or where I don't understand something, I'm gonna rely on you. And I want you to know you can rely on me as well in the ways that you need. And that, when an actor hears that, it frees you up, man. It's like, okay, so you really want me to show up and give you all that I've got, and I'm gonna do it. And I think that curiosity that he has is very much like the curiosity that I have, like I'm always digging and searching and trying to figure out like how can we make this like 2% better or like a little bit deeper or is there something that we can do that's find that's like a little bit more specific. um, I love working like that. And a lot of times people don't have time or interest in doing that kind of work, but Titus certainly did. And you see it in his painting, and you when people see the movie, I think they'll see it there too.
And what was your approach to the scenes of Terrell doing the physical work of painting? Like, did you learn how to paint for the role? Was that something that interested you, or that you pursued?
Yeah, man. Look, I'm endlessly curious, Daniel. Like I'm always trying to learn something. I told you right now, I'm in the hip hop archive at the Hutchins Center at Harvard University. That's why I'm in this research closet. Um, so I'm like doing some work up here, and it's amazing. And I'm yeah, super curious. Uh, and so of course I was like curious about painting, and I knew right away that if we were going to do the movie, that I had to be able to paint in a way that felt real and believable. One, because I have respect for the art form, and I want to do the best I can, not to just be mimicking what I think it looks like, but to actually try and be inside of that experience. But then also on a practical level, I wanted to make sure that we had the choice not to have that we could just shoot the scenes as they are and not have to, shoot someone else's hand making marks on the cameras and then my face and then the hand and never see the two in the same frame. Um, and then most importantly, man, I think, when it comes to acting, it's like so much of our work is about getting into the present moment and then staying there, and trying to eliminate things that pull you out, right? So you can stay on the ride. And I wanted the painting to be something that felt like it took me deeper into the experience and not something that I suddenly became self-conscious about and thought, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. And then have to work to get myself back on track. So in order to service that, we ended up working for about 3 months in the studio before we, started really even working on the script. The studio's in New Haven. So I would go up and we spent, 3.5 months just starting from scratch and learning how to paint. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. Frustrating for sure, super challenging, but really, really rewarding. And so, so when you see the movie, that is me doing the painting, which I feel really proud of.
You co-star with Andra Day, who plays Terrell's wife in the film, and that character Andra is a singer, of course, and the character is a singer. So this is a marriage of artists. Wondering how you developed that kind of rapport between these characters with Andra, and like if you think that them both being artists makes them understand each other in a way that maybe only artists can.
Yeah, I think so. I think there is a sort of unspoken language that they share, and Andrea and I found that with each other right away. I mean, the first time that we met, we just really, really got on and are super close friends now to this day. And uh, I love too in the movie that, um, that they are two artists who are like active and who are using their work to like move through things in their own lives. And it's also beautiful to me that like their response to the difficulty that they face in their lives, right, with like this event that's happening in this movie, is like an artist's response, is to create, you know, to as Gabriel Garcia Marquez says, to respond with life, So she brings into the world a piece of music that didn't exist before, and Terrell similarly is bringing into the world art that didn't exist before, and the desire to do that, the ability to do that, the curiosity about that, I think is one of the things that really binds them to each other, Terrell and Aisha.
Aisha Taylor plays your mother, and yes, and there are times I'll watch her in a movie or TV show and just wonder why she's not in everything. Like she should be cast in everything. What was it like working with her in this film? Because that relationship is so pivotal as well.
Man, it was a gift. It was a gift. Angelou and I did. We went to the same drama school. We both went to NYU for our master's degrees, and at different times though. So when I came to school, she had just graduated, and she, there was like the legend of Angelou. Everybody knew, that she had been there. And maybe a year or two after I graduated from school, she and I ended up doing a play on Broadway together. We did Joe Turner's Come and Gone, this August Wilson play, and in that play, we played this sort of young couple. Really, she was this amazing woman, and I played this kind of young, braggadocious guy who was obsessed with her and also into this other woman, and it was a little messy, um, but working with her on that play really changed my trajectory as an actor. She don't like when I tell this story because I think it embarrasses her, maybe, but the truth is that she made me step my game up in a major way. Not only was she an astounding actress, but she also helped me understand the importance of context and history, right? While we were working on this play, the truth is I was happy to be in it, and I thought I had a pretty good handle on the character, and I thought I knew what I was doing because I had been to school and learned all the techniques, and I had a process and an approach, and I thought that was it. But what Andra encouraged me to do was to dig deeper and understand the historical moment that this play is coming out of, um, the things that were happening in the world around the play, right? She suggested movies for me to watch, and we read books. I mean, we did all kinds of like research beyond the research that we were asked to do by our dramaturg, right? So like, and what that did for me is that it helped me situate the character in the appropriate way, but then it also helped me situate myself in the sense that like my role as an artist is not just to be out here trying to give a good performance, right? That's not what it's about. We are like custodians of these people's lives and of their real experiences. And that it demands really to be treated with the utmost care and respect. Working with Andra taught me that. And it makes me proud now to know that the work that I do or that I try to do, is a part of like a greater lineage of particularly Black artists who have like seen the role of an artist, understood it to be calling, really, and like to have the potential to create enormous transformation, socially, psychically. It's so much more than just acting. And I credit Aisha Taylor for teaching me that.
Now, religious faith is a theme that is sometimes tied in with forgiveness in the film. Like Terrell's mother, for instance, derives much of her beliefs, from and about forgiveness, from her faith. I'm wondering, what role do you think that played in Terrell's life and his feelings about his father and how complicated that is?
Yeah, I think that, what the play tells us, I think what the movie tells us is that Terrell is a character who was raised in the church. He was raised in the Black church, and that he was taught that forgiveness means, forgive and forget, turn the other cheek. And when we meet him, I think what we find him in the throes of is this struggle between that understanding and what he feels, which is that forgiving in the way that he was taught feels unsafe to him and unfair. And where he lands, not to give too much away, but I think where he lands is at a place where he realizes that like it's okay to like forgiveness. First of all, forgiveness looks different for everybody. Secondly, forgiveness and reconciliation are not necessarily the same thing. And then also that like forgiveness can also come with boundaries, with like firm boundaries. And that little journey, that process, is like a fascinating one. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the part. And I think audiences are really connecting with that. Like people are coming up to me after seeing the movie and saying this very thing, that like, wow, I didn't know that it was okay for me to like take care of myself, particularly as it relates to like, family members maybe who've caused harm or intimate partners who've caused harm. That there are more resources available to people who are in those situations than they maybe knew. In terms of the religious piece, I think that Terrell, the character, takes a pretty clear and, some might say harsh stance when it comes to church, right? He's very adamant about, he talks about this story with Abraham and Isaac, and he's very, very, very clear about his feelings about the church. And yet, I think within him, he also holds the understanding that without the Black church, I don't know that Black people would have very much at all, So it's both things, right? It's like, it's both things that the church giveth and it has taken away. So it's an interesting thing to wrestle with.
And did you ever consider what you would do if you would forgive if you were in Terrell's position? Is that something that you wrestled with as well with the script and the character?
Of course, yeah. That's something that I thought about a great deal, and Titus and I talked about a lot. In fact, that scene where Aisha and I are outside on that bench where we have our sort of final scene together, was the hardest one of the whole movie. Um, Primarily because there were things in the script that I felt like we needed to adjust, and I realized that I was bringing maybe too much of my own personal um, reverence for the Black church to that particular scene, right? Like um, I wanted it to feel nuanced and complex, um, and I think Titus did too, and again, pointing to like the beauty of our collaboration is like we started out that scene kind of in different places, but we managed to find a middle point that I think worked really, really well.
And now that more people are going to get a chance to see the film now that it's about to open, what do you hope their takeaway is from the film? What feelings do you hope that it evokes for them?
Well, one thing, just to be really transparent, that I hope people take away from it is that I hope that they see the beauty in the film and that it's an important story that deserves a place in the world. And I hope that they go see it, go and support it, because the truth is that it is, as we all know, hard to get movies like this made. It's hard to get movies like this distributed, and unless we support movies like these, I think it's going to be harder and harder to get them out into the world. So I hope, first of all, people see the value in it that we see, and that they go out and support it. I also think, I don't think it's a film that has any particular sort of singular message. Like, I want y'all to walk away and go do this, right? It's not quite like that. But I think what I have heard people say, some of them have said, I didn't think I wanted to speak to my daddy again, but I think I'm gonna give him a call and see if we can talk about things. I've heard other people say, yeah, I've been in this relationship or this dynamic with somebody and I haven't felt good about it, but I felt pressure to stay in it. So maybe I'm gonna reconsider drawing some boundaries around that relationship. So I think it's like it's inviting people to reconsider what forgiveness looks like, what healing looks like in their own lives. And also the last thing I'll say, man, is that I hope that people see it and come away with like a profound appreciation for the incredible artists who work so hard to make it. Aisha Taylor I think you agree with me, is a national treasure. Andra Day, same thing. John Jokes, he's been doing theater for such a long time, and we've all known how brilliant he is, and I'm excited for the world to get to see it. And that's not just the people on the screen. I mean, our production designer Olivia did a fantastic job, and if you look at the little details that she put in there, man, it helps us so much with the storytelling. Deirdre, our costume designer, and on and on and on. Every single person who contributed to the movie, I think, brought the highest level of artistry to it. And I think that really leaps off the screen when you see the movie, man. So I hope people walk away, look at those credits, and pay attention to those artists and artisans who made this thing really work.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your work in the film, and I do hope as well that people see it and seek it out. And thank you so much for talking with me about it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your support, man. Thank you for talking about us and encouraging people to give us a look.